So good day and welcome everybody to our Coffee and Cloud webcast series event, Google Workspace for Education. I'm Alan Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and week to join us here today. We'll move through the content really quickly as we do with these Coffee and Cloud webcasts, and we have time for Q&A at the end. So you'll notice the audio is muted. That prevents any background noise from getting in the way. So please use the questions window. There's an icon along the top or right-hand side of your screen to ask any questions you have over the course of the event. The session is being recorded, so for those watching the recording, thank you for doing that as well. We post these recordings generally within 24 hours, and we'll send you a link once it is available. This webcast is one of many resources we are constantly adding to our resource center. We've got a number of ebooks and white papers that have been added in the last 4 to 6 weeks in our library, and we've got some other webcasts listed up on the screen that might be of interest to you. But you're not here to listen to me talk about that today. You want to talk about Google Workspace for Education and the transition to the new licensing and subscription models, as well as an overview of planning your transition if you have not yet done so. So looking at that, let's start with the former G Suite product line for education. You had the free version of G Suite for Education, which gave you your classroom tools, those collaboration tools, Google Classroom, archive and e-discovery services with Google Vault, and enhanced security specific for the needs of educational institutions. The paid suite was the upgrade to G Suite Enterprise for Education, brought in advanced security and analytics, enhanced teaching and learning features. Most frequently cited by the schools we work with are the additional Meets functionality for larger meetings, recordings, additional capabilities there, and the unlimited use of originality reports, which helps faculty and staff, teachers, instructors, check student work to make sure it's original work, not plagiarized from other students or from other sources. Additionally, Enterprise for Education provides unlimited storage. And traditionally, the pricing has been based on the number of full-time equivalents working for your district, with a requirement that the student to FTE ratio be 10 to 1. So even if you had a lower than 10 to 1 student to teacher ratio, you would need to buy additional licenses to fulfill that requirement. When we look at Google Workspace for Education, the additions and the subscriptions give you a little more flexibility, actually much more flexibility. We still have the free edition, now known as Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals, or Education Fundamentals, which is the same free suite of tools you get with G Suite for Education today. And you have to be a qualified educational institution at the K-12 or higher education level to qualify for the free edition. The paid editions now, when you think about G Suite Enterprise for Education, that is now Google Workspace for Education Plus, otherwise known as just Education Plus, which is that comprehensive solution. And the flexibility comes within 2 paid editions in between. One, you can move up from Education Fundamentals to Education Standard by upgrading your entire domain to enhance your security and your analytics tools. You can also add on a per educator or per instructor basis a teacher and learning upgrade that gives you enhanced tools that really are designed to enrich the classroom experience and to guide that academic integrity that's also important, particularly when we're whether we're in class or students are working remotely or working at home on assignments from their in-person learning. And so a little bit of an overview of each of these licenses. Education Fundamentals is the free suite of tools. You receive, as an institution for your domain, 100 terabytes of pooled storage and standard level of support from Google. And what are you getting? You're getting that real-time collaboration, which in addition to the traditional editors now also includes Jamboard and Meet. You've got the communication tools, not just Gmail, but Meet and Google Chat. The new Google Chat. It comes with both classroom and assignments, so you can manage work in the classroom. And you've got data loss prevention for both Gmail and Google Drive as a base level of security. And you still have your compliant e-discovery and archiving services with Vault. And so that is the free edition, and that will meet the needs of many K-12 schools and systems. When you step up to the standard edition, you get all of that, plus advanced security and analytics. And so you start working with the Security Center dashboard that gives you a centralized view to manage and monitor your security. You get mobile device management, where you can centrally manage devices and apps, perform audits and enforce rules. You are able to export your Gmail logs to BigQuery for more detailed analysis if you're doing an investigation or you believe there's a security issue. And you've got reports to track usage across your domain. And as we go through these slides, if you see the asterisk, that's something that's coming soon, but it's planned to be there in the near future. And for these additional advanced security and features, we're now running, $3 per student per year. And one of the things you'll notice is that the pricing model for Google Workspace for education licenses is now different. Whereas G Suite for Education was priced based on full-time equivalent faculty and staff, the Google Workspace model now, it's licensed per student per year, and for each 4 students you have, you're provided a free license for a member of the staff. This is a shift and a couple of things that make it better for educational institutions to work with. One, student enrollment is easier to count and track than full-time equivalents. We had a lot of issues of faculty and staff. Well, what if you have staff members who don't even have access to the system? Do they get counted? Even if in the numbers that get reported up to the state and to the U.S. Department of Education for total staff. There were a lot of confusion about what FTE and full-time staff and who counted in that ratio. Student enrollment is pretty straightforward and easy. Schools track it. We know, and so it's a number that's readily available that we can easily manage. And that sort of 4-to-1 ratio covers a much broader range of school situations as far as staffing flexibility. So even when we get into institutions with relatively low student to staff ratios in that 4-to-1 range, maybe it's a school that has high staff count because it special education services or special programs that are running. Those institutions are now more easily covered without having to buy additional licenses. Even though in many public and charter and private schools, we see student to staff ratios in that 7-to-1 to 15-to-1 range. So it's easier to get full coverage. With the Education Standard Edition, you still have your 100 terabytes of pooled storage, and you still get your standard support from Google. And I'll talk a little bit down the road about what other support you can get from Cumulus Global as well, both free and as paid subscriptions. The Teaching and Learning Upgrade is a different component. You start with your standard and your Fundamentals Edition, and you can enhance the tools that your instructors will use in the classroom. For most of the schools we work with, the attraction of the TLU license, as we like to call it, are the enhanced features in Google Meet. You can go beyond the current limitations, go up to 250 participants in your meets. You can live stream up to 10,000 viewers within your domain. You get polls and interactive Q&As in those meets. Attendance tracking is helpful. You can also set up and use breakout rooms, which is good for dividing classes into working groups or project teams, and you can record your meetings and save them into Drive. You also get unlimited originality reports, and that not only will look for plagiarism over the web, but you get a private repository of student work, so you can do that student-to-student matching to make sure that on individual assignments the work is actually individual. And finally, you've got the ability to integrate other tools that work with Classroom that you might want to use as part of your instruction. And so the model for this product is a little different. You start with your education fundamentals, and it's $4 per license per month. You're only going to license meeting hosts and instructors who need these features. And for each individual you license, those individuals will share an additional 100 gigabyte of storage per person. Because they're using these additional features, and we'll have some incremental data demands above the pool that's given for the institution for your domain at large. And so this is an add-on. It can be cycled up and down on a monthly basis as needed. If that is a strategy that does require some management, administration, foresight, and planning, but it's definitely workable and can help manage budgets as well. Now, at the top end of the spectrum, we've got Education Plus. Those are all of the features that we've heard about in the other 3 licenses as a comprehensive solution, plus a set of digital transformation features. So the live streaming capabilities jumps to 100,000 viewers. We get the addition of cloud search for finding information within your ecosystem. You have the ability to synchronize your classroom rosters with your student information system, which clearly makes classroom setup and management of that resource simpler and more automated. And then there is the ability to set up automation for review and approvals within Drive, Gmail, Docs, and the other editors. And so you have the ability to create draft documents and route them through an approval process before they're published. And for all of this comprehensive solution, we're looking at $5 per student per year, still with that 4-to-1 student to staff ratio. So we believe that as we scanned our existing education customer base in the schools we've worked with, we don't believe we found any that would require additional licensing. That based on the student licensing ratio and their student staff ratios, just licensing per student will cover all of their staff. It adds an additional 20 gigabytes of storage to that initial storage pool for each license, and you get enhanced support from Google. And so this is a lot to take in, and there's some considerations. So let's talk about transitioning. Okay, and so if you're currently running the free version of G Suite for Education, you're happy with the service and capability that offers you, then we would simply transition you to Workspace for Education Fundamentals, or the Education Fundamentals Edition. If you have instructors or meeting hosts who want the additional features available in the Teaching and Learning Upgrade, we can add those on a per user per month basis. And one of the services we provide is license management administration. So we can actually add those licenses for you, track, identify licenses that aren't being used, and ask if you want those removed to lower that month-to-month operating cost. If you're interested in the additional security and analytics, if those are necessary in your environment, we would upgrade you from fundamental, from G Suite Education. It would be a transition and an upgrade to the Education Standard Edition. And certainly if you wanted everything all-inclusive for one consistent, managed, easy to budget, easy to plan for price, we would upgrade you from G Suite for Education, the free edition, to the paid Education Plus edition and subscription under Google Workspace. For folks who are on enterprise education, unless you're looking to cut your budget and you have a sense of what features you no longer need or want and the impact that has on your environment, we expect you would want to move over and maintain your current level of service and move over from G Suite Enterprise for Education over to Google Workspace for Education Plus and the Education Plus edition. And the big transition for you there will be the pricing model. But again, we're seeing not a negative impact on cost to schools as they make this transition. And so it's pretty seamless for you. So the considerations there, as you think about which way you want to go, is obviously start and map out the features, identify your needs and your wants, prioritize those wants. And are those needs and wants for everyone or only some of the people in your environment? When we look at the key differentiators between the versions, obviously security, protections, and analytics and reporting, compliance tools, but also from an instructor standpoint, it's the meat and the originality reports that we see as being very helpful. We're starting to see more interest in the integration with Classroom of third-party tools, and from an administration side, more interest in the syncing ability to the student information systems, as that saves quite a bit of administrative time and effort on an annual basis. From a pricing standpoint, again, look at your student staff ratio, understand where you are. And another thing we've talked to a number of schools about that I just want to highlight here is, take a look for some schools from a budgetary standpoint, take a look at the Teaching and Learning Upgrade for some of your instructors versus moving up to Education Plus, which would require moving all of your users, all of your faculty and staff and students to that license. And knowing that, each from a cost perspective, right? Each Teaching and Learning Upgrade license on an annualized basis is approximately 8 of the Education Plus licenses, which is roughly the 2 plus 2 of your staff licenses at the plus level, and you're getting value add for enhanced security analytics above and beyond that. And so a pricing example, we looked at one of our districts that was going through this analysis. They have roughly 4,000 students and 700 faculty and staff. When they looked at staying on fundamentals and adding the teacher and learning upgrade, they realized that the TLU licenses would be needed by roughly half of their faculty and staff for an annual cost of $16,800. When they looked at the Education Plus edition, they realized at 4,000 students, they'd be $20,000 a year. That additional $3,200, they decided to go with Education Plus because they saw the value of the additional features and capabilities, the security, the compliance, as well as the additional integration features of moving up to Education Plus, as well as avoiding a lot of the administration required of tracking the TLU upgrade licenses on a per user per month basis. So with that, reminder that Cumulus Global is a Google for Education partner. We now have the ability to provision and manage your Workspace for Education subscriptions. We can help you manage your licensing. With that, you still get your support directly from Google. You also get our basic service for free, and that includes user license management as well as support ticket escalation services. And we do offer admin and premium services where we help co-manage your environment and can, at the premium level, we can also provide direct end user support to your faculty and staff. When you choose Cumulus Global as your Google for Education partner, you also get free access to our Chrome Cycle program, as well as other value add services that we provide. And just as a reminder, our Chrome Cycle program is a life cycle approach to your mobile devices, your Chromebooks and Chrome devices. We offer services in the acquisition area, everything from purchasing and financing. In fact, earlier this spring, we actually helped a few districts take a spec and put it out to bid across multiple manufacturers to get better pricing and availability. Given the current supply chain issues, they realized their current preferred brand would not be able to fulfill their needs this year. We can do white glove services such as pre-configuration, asset tagging, and etching, as well as provide accessories, whether it's stylus, headphones, or adaptive technologies that are necessary for children with special learning needs. Over the life of your devices, we can assist with the management with protection plans and warranties. We can even help you self-warranty if you want. And we can offer asset tracking and refresh planning, where we can help with not only inventory analysis, but the financial analysis of when it's appropriate, and should you buy on a 3-year cycle or a 4-year cycle, and how you're going to manage those refreshes and redeployment of devices you choose to keep. For districts who have BYOD programs, we offer group purchasing in BYOD stores and protection plans that can be purchased by the families individually. And when it's time to get devices, we have the ability to take used Chrome and devices as well as Android and iOS tablets, either as trade-in for purchases or buyback as used. And we can get you estimates of what their value would be as early as January in each year for devices you're pulling out of service in the May-June timeframe. When you get closer, we give you a firm quote good for 30 days that gives you a dollar value that you'll receive back from us in trade or as a buyback, where we write you a check with shipping and handling taken care of. So it's a broad program where we can do a lot to help you manage the total cost of ownership and take some of the administrative work off your hands. We normally charge for the service, but currently, if you choose Cumulus Global as your Google for Education partner, we add on that service and provide it to you at no additional cost. So at this point, I know it's hard because the folks who are watching this recording can't participate in the Q&A. So for those folks, my contact information is on the screen. It's always best to give me an email rather than a phone call. I'm horrible at checking my voicemail box and getting back to people. I'm good about email, so email is the way to go. Or you can reach anyone here at Cumulus Global and be connected with one of our cloud advisors by going to info@cumulusglobal.com. So I want to open it up to questions at this point. So please, along the top right-hand side of the screen, there's an icon, and feel free to throw out any questions. So we do have a couple of questions here. One is MeetStream will be accessible by non-domain users? At this point, Meet Streaming is in domain only. We are waiting to hear when that might change. If you need to stream to people outside of your domain, there are other options using YouTube Live. Now there is you need some coding software on a device to feed that live feed, but that's not particularly difficult, and certainly there's some really good products out there that don't charge. So it's doable as well. If you're looking to do webcasts and live streaming outside of the student and faculty domain, reach out to us. We're happy to help you get that set up through the YouTube service. Next question is, what is the cutoff date for switching over from legacy version to one of the new platforms? The cutoff date at this point would be your renewal date. So unless you're in an existing multi-year agreement for your G Suite Enterprise for Education, as your annual renewal comes due, you'll need to pick which version of Google Workspace for Education, which versions are right for you. The G Suite for Education products are no longer orderable, can no longer be ordered by us. And so we recommend that, even if your, renewal time is coming up, later this spring or over the summer, possibly at the start of your fiscal year, that you contact us and we start to talk about the transition and which way you want to move. And we can also talk about some, discount incentives that may be available to you for making the transition sooner rather than later, as well as, depending on your licensing, there's savings available if you're committing, or if you expect to stay on the platform for 2 or 3 years and you want to make that commitment now. We'll still bill you annually as we normally would, but there's some programmatic savings that could apply to you as well, and we can explore those. Okay, as I wait for additional questions at this point, I'm going to wrap it up and stop the recording. So for those of you who watched the recording of this session, thanks for doing so. Please reach out to us or out to me if you have any further questions or want more information or would like to speak with one of our cloud advisors to discuss your options.